Hey, everybody, how you doing? Happy Father's Day, everybody. Got a bunch of fathers in this group today. So let's see who we got here. We have Evans here. Thank you, Evan. Happy Father's Day to you too. David, I'm just gonna say everybody. David, Steve is here. Good to see you, man. Guitar in hand, ready to go. Awesome, man. Gloria, hi, Gloria. How you doing today? Um, and Chris is here. Hey, Chris. Happy Father's Day to you too. Happy Father's Day. I don't think I missed David. David as well. Dean's here. Great to see you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. The David Sparrow's here. Hey, David, how you doing today? What's everybody doing special for Father's Day today? I am very curious. I'm rocking the new Father's Day shirt right here. Got a few. It's there's always a Star Wars shirt in my Father's Day future. So yeah, having a good time today, man. We're just chilling at the house and gonna eat a little bit, and there's some where we are. There's nothing I really want to go out and do. I'd rather stay here and enjoy the family. So that's what we're going to do today. Let me go back a little bit. I've missed a few things here. Let's see here. It says lots of rockin' dads in our group guitar. Evan's riding to Alabama for a funeral. Oh, sorry about that, man. Sorry about that. So David's son lives in Tallahassee. And dinner with daughter tonight. Awesome, man. That's great. David, okay, yeah, David's got the new speaker going on. Just find ways to break it in without annoying the neighbors. Happy Father's Day, by the way. So, breaking speakers in. I used to have a thing. I had a Variac that I would attach to both poles. And it's amazing I didn't blow more speakers up. It was an internet hack. And basically I put it in a closet and just, a lot of people say you can just put a cabinet, just put it face down, put stuff on top of it, and just put a shorted out plug, or just like put a guitar cable in that's going and let that go for a couple of days. That'll drive you crazy. You know what I say? Play it. Break that thing in. Do a lot of playing. Good. So let's see. Dean says, had lunch with my son. Awesome, man. Glad you had it. That's great. That's awesome, man. Steve says, been digging out for a new patio and now chilling with a drop of smoked whiskey that your daughter brought you today. That's fantastic, man. Wonderful. And Chris is cutting a hedge today, doing dad stuff. Right. I don't have a hedge to cut today in the apartment. It's been very quiet in the apartment today. Normally there's like all sorts of crazy things going on here. Above us, usually there's crazy stuff, and like outside, usually some crazy stuff going on. It's been very quiet today. Not sure why. I've been having fun. I did a lot of lesson videos today. Got everyone who sent a video in finished. Gloria, I didn't see yours. Did you send one in? If I missed it, I'll run and do another one. I'm going to be putting them all up tonight. And let's see, everyone else who's here, who's in the coaching, I think I've gotten for today. Chris got the SSG out today, nice and crunchy. It is. And Steve says, pop some earplugs through your neighbor's door. Yeah, goodness gracious, it's something here. Glory says, I need to get mine in. Tomorrow's okay. Yeah, you can. The next time I get to how it works is I do videos on Saturday and Sunday. And usually by Friday night sometime, actually by Saturday morning at 9 is usually when I get started on Saturday morning. So I get Saturday and Sunday. So you can send it anytime this week, and I'll be getting to it. The next time I record videos is Saturday. If you want me to look at it and just send text about it, I'd be happy to do that anytime during the week. But next time I have video time will be Saturday morning. But what's cool about this is there's no slotted time. So if you have a busy week, or if it just takes you a while to get to the videos, we just wait till the next week. Okay, so it's no rush. You're not missing anything if it doesn't work out. So just whenever you can is fine. Evan says, I did bring the laptop with me though, so I'll be trying my hand at some EQ and stuff. Like he is ate up with the recording. Try and get a feel for mixing and headroom and all that stuff, and gain staging, man. That's what that makes everything super easy. I'm really excited for you, Evan. That's great. You're really taking to recording. That's awesome. I've been there, man. David says, I'll definitely play it lots as I love the way it sounds now. I prefer them to the G12 T75s. It's amazing how much difference it makes. Yeah, when you're searching for the right speaker for an amplifier, and it's an expensive trial and error kind of thing, and even if you return the speakers, it is a lot of work, and then when you finally find the right one, I've been through everything, from like all the Celestians, the greenbacks, and I was getting close with the 65s, but then I tried the warehouse guitar speakers, the ET65s. ET65 warehouse guitar. I'm looking it up right now. And for what I do, for the style of music that I play, which is a blues and like Southern rock and blues and jam band kind of mixture, for that style, it's fantastic. And I miss playing through it because the stuff that I play through online doesn't sound anything like it. And actually, I would really love to get some impulse responses from the cabinets that I use, because that speaker matches what I want to play so much. I have it in everything that I'm playing. One amp I don't. One amp I still have I use the speakers that came, the same ones that are in the Jimi Hendrix reissue Marshall stuff. It's like a greenback type speaker. But other than that, I've switched everything over. Even in my Fender, I have the ET10s. I have a Vibrolux that I built, and I got rid of my what were those speakers? The old ceramics that were in that, and I'm using the ET10s in that one. So it really works well. You get a nice clean sound, but man, when you push it, it has that kind of woofy kind of sound that I'm looking for. So, yeah. So congratulations, David. You found some speakers that are working for you, and it makes your pedals work better. It seems like when you have the wrong speaker in the amp, everything fights it. So, let me see what I missed here. Definitely play it lots. I love the way it sounds. I prefer them to the G1275s. Yeah. Evan says, I am ate up with it. That's something you hear around here a lot. I am ate up with it. Steve says, I set a semi-hollow up yesterday and the clean sound is great. It's really airy. If that's a word, that is a word. That's a good descriptor. It's yeah, semi hollows when they're just right. You know, in Dino's semi hollow, or it might be a full hollow. I don't remember, but he was doing some things in our lesson videos and did a little lead over top of a cover song and put a little bit of an overdrive on that, and it had that. Do you remember Clapton's the From the Cradle album, the blues? It was in all blues, but it was like hornline blues. It was like a Freddie King kind of. It was, and so Dino's tone on that was really cool. I keep thinking about that. So yeah, when you get and I've had some. I had a 335 for a while. I ended up selling. It was okay. But I've had some cheap ones too. A cheap semi hollow that was fantastic, but it was so cheap it fell apart. Excuse me. So it wasn't worth it. It ended up on the scrap heap, but it sounded great before it did. It sounded great before it blew up, right? So let's see here. Are they a little like greenbacks too? Are you talking about the ET65s? They're like the oh gosh, they're like a higher powered greenback is what they were trying to do. But of course, all of their speakers, they say, oh, it was like the Celestions, the 65s, and then this is Warehouse's version of them, which are really neat. The ones that I like. Marshall Studio Vintage. That's cool. Yeah, the Marshalls I have. What's the one I'm using with the purple Tolex? Vintage Modern. I have a Vintage Modern, which is a combo. And then I have a DSL 50. So none of mine are like the loud Marshalls, where you get the real classic sound from. But they're all kind of like stuff I played on backline that I liked, you know. So let's see here. Massachusetts Mike, good to see you, man. I've never swapped any speakers in any of my amps. You notice a big difference, David, or more just minor tonal difference? It can be a big difference. The problem is that it's tough to find the right one for an amp. So you know, one or two amps and one or two speakers they might match, but you know, I've had some that worked great on one amp and not on another one too. So when you find the right one, it is awesome. Evan's here. Hey, Evan. Evan R's here. Good to see you. Happy Father's Day, other F. David says I have a Marshall 1936 cab, which I put them in. I changed to Celestion V types. Cool. And let's see. David says 2 Evans and 2 Davids in here. We need nicknames. I go with the usually if somebody comes in and there's only one of that first name, then that's the first name person. Then the next one, I have to remember the last names to keep everybody straight. Steve says I'm more of a Fender man, David, but cool, enjoy. And then Evan says Happy Father's Day, all other dads. Marks 2 years since I got my guitar. Awesome. And man, it's a good sounding one too. I enjoy listening to it. I sure do. So we got dinner plans here and hanging out at the homestead today. Probably some Netflix or movies or something going on for us. Nothing. We're not planning anything too much, but we're saving all of that. So I've got a birthday and a Father's Day celebration saving up for when we move and get that done. And so for my Father's Day, I got got the email yesterday that on the new house, the electricity has been run and the plumbing has been run, and we actually got pictures of all of that. You know, not exciting to anybody unless you're building the house, right? So, but the pre-drywall meeting is Wednesday morning. So we're doing a virtual meeting, virtual walkthrough through the house. So that's what I'm excited about, man. I'm finally going to have a new studio. My last studio, for those of you who remember, we did a lot of Facebook Lives from that last one, was the dining room to the house that we lived in before, which my wife was very nice and let me take over the dining room. One, because we usually just eat in front of the TV and eat we had another table that we never really used dining room, so it worked out good. The problem was it's right next to the kitchen, right? So when you work at home and you people are in and out of the kitchen and you go so snack time happened a whole lot over there, and it was tough because there's a lot of noise, people coming in and out through the kitchen and everything. So this is going to be a dedicated studio, doors closed, and we're all gonna. And one of the things on YouTube, I've been doing the podcasting for a while, but YouTube I haven't really focused on for a while. I did some YouTube videos about a year ago. One of them, YouTube kind of picked up a little bit, and that was practice room stuff. All the podcast I did on setting up your practice room, which was a long form podcast, which admittedly is not meant for YouTube stuff. It was more of a podcast. Like it definitely could have been condensed down for YouTube, but it gets put out there a good bit. And so we're going to, as we get closer to that, when we get down there, this will be in September if I'm not mistaken, that we're going to be doing a lot of practice room setups, a lot of ideas, and maybe I may be going to different places for ideas for different setups, and maybe like, I don't know, like IKEA, or doing a lot of hacks on what I want to have is. So right now I'm on a temporary place with a temporary desk, and I have my 2 webcams and my DSLR, and this mic, which is just on a regular mic stand, and my mixing board with the computer. And so that's basically as small as I can get. I had everything going through a laptop, but the fan was so terrible in that laptop that it would bleed through the mic all the time. So got my old computer running, everything's going. But what I want to have is several different places in the studio that I record from. I want one to be a stand-up desk because I'm tired of sitting down all the time. I like to stand up and play guitar. And that's so I'm going to have a stand-up filming location for different things, and then a sit-down for other things too. And plus, I want to start demoing pedals and amps and those kind of things, and direct boards and everything. So I'm going to have those. It's going to be a multi-purpose room, 3 or 4 things set up. So anyway, we're going to be decorating it. We're going to be getting the functional pieces of it and get everybody's opinions on those things. Dean also had a good idea about putting some things in the background for logos and things like that. So I'm going to go back here. Steve says, I'm saving the money from teaching to build a studio in my back garden. Going to take a while, but can't wait. Yeah, that's fun, man. That's exciting times. It sure is. I don't do a lot of other stuff. I play guitar and do this. This is kind of my enjoyment. I don't fish. I don't have a boat. I don't golf. There's nothing wrong with those things. That's just I kind of tunnel vision on things. So this is what I like to do. So I'm going to Do it up, as they say. David says, still going to need a mini fridge in the studio. Snacks are always needed. You should get the Marshall fridge, man. Have you seen that? Let's see how much. Somebody online and didn't even know they were a guitar player. They're online for like YouTube stuff. They had it. I was like, hey, what are they having a Marshall amp there for? And it wasn't. It was a fridge. Ooh, goodness, between $369 and $479. Not cheap for a mini fridge. Yeah, and at the Marshall place, but it's cool looking. Do I have a in this setup? Let me see. There it is, right there. Pretty cool, right? Size matters. Compare the 4.4 and 3.2 fridges side by side. Awesome. That's what you need, man. You need that. I think I need that. Only problem is with recording, I'm not sure I want a fridge in the studio. It depends on what kind of noise it makes. That's awesome. Yeah. You know what would be neat is to put all your Marshalls in a line and put that one in the middle of them. So when people think you're going over to adjust your amp, you could adjust your fridge. Get a cold one, right? Okay. Oh. Let's see. David says you needs those. Yeah, I need them. That's right. Steve says, any recommended speakers for a Hot Rod DeVille or Deluxe? Is it the 12-inch for the DeVille? I had a DeVille, which was a 12-inch. And I had a Deluxe, and I also had a DeVille that was 410s too. Those were really good amps. People gave them a hard time. And I've used a lot of the Fender Hot Rod series in gigs, other people's in backlines. And there's some ways to really make those amps sound nice. I can tell you what I used, the different things that I used. I'm looking it up right now. So there's the Patriot series of Eminence. Let's see what it is. There's a couple that I used in there. And it depends on what you want from it. And if you're talking about 12-inch speakers, the red, white, and blues was really good. I used that for a while. And then I wanted something, so I'll kind of take you the history of the hot rods that I used. So Deluxe. Okay, so I had a DeVille, which was 212s, which is just as like the Deluxe, but with an extra speaker, higher power, you know. And then I was playing with the lady that I played with before, the E.G. Kite, and she had a 410 DeVille too. So I've been going through all that stuff. I started off just using the Fender designed Eminence speaker that it came with, which is not a bad speaker. It's an okay speaker. But I started getting, it wasn't doing everything I wanted. I started getting picky with it. So I wanted something that had more like a Dumble type sound. And so I went for like a ceramic. Well, I tried a bunch of different ones. And there was the one that, let me see if I can show you this here. I'm looking at Eminence's site. There we go. Okay, so tried a lot of the different Eminence speakers in there, and let's see, not the Rage, a lot of people like the Cannabis Rex. It's like a tone tubby type speaker, but the Little Texas was great. In fact, we've tried that speaker in a lot of different amps. The little Texas worked really well. It's a neodyme speaker. It's a not as heavy. There's two of those that Eminence has that is good. There's the Tonker Light and the Little Texas, and they both weigh less than half of a regular speaker, but they push really nice too. And this one we used for a while. It was really good, and it ended up in a deluxe reverb, like an old 65 deluxe reverb, a real 65 deluxe reverb. It's where that one ended up, and that's the one she plays now, I think. The Red, White, and Blues. I was told about this one from Andy Fuchs, the guy that makes Fuchs amplifiers, and I used that one for a while. That one worked well, but it's a little more sterile. It's like what you would think of like a Dumble amp type sound. I used those for a while. And the Little Texas is the small one of the Texas Heat. But then there was one called this is the American series. But then I was trying to get more of a British sound out of that amp for a long time. So the ones I ended up with, which were really, really heavy speakers. It was a lot to lug around. It's probably why my back hurts so much all the time. Was the Tonker. A lot of low end, a lot of bass. It's a really good speaker. But I got fed up with that, and I tried the Tonker Light. I used in a 112 cabinet. I had I used this in my other that crate, the Palomino amp that I like a lot. I used this in that for years, and all these I used before I started going into the WGS speakers, the warehouse speakers, and that to me beat all of them. But there's a lot of good ones for that Texas. If you want a lighter weight amp, that Little Texas one sounds fantastic for like a clean to a breakup Fender amp, and it wasn't very expensive, if I remember. This was a while ago. Red, White, and Blues is a little sterile, but for me, this is what I use for everything. It's great. You get good cleans, but then when you drive it, when you put distortion through it, overdrive through it, it's creamy, and it's got a ton of character to it. And the more you play them, the better they get too. So hopefully pretty soon you guys will be able to hear these speakers all the time, which leads me to what I saw. Where was it? Dean says, "Hey Lee, do you play gigs anymore?" I stopped when I decided that this is what I wanted to really be doing. I stopped temporarily for the moment. But one of the reasons we're moving to Florida and moving to the Orlando area in particular is that we're going to be playing a good bit. The idea is, well, one thing I want to do is I want to have get-togethers down there, and so I wanted to be in kind of a vacation place, a place where there's a lot of like conference rooms and those kind of things. The area, there's a lot of places to play too, so I wanted to have something where we were playing on. My wife sings, I sing, I play guitar. We just need to get a rhythm section when we get down there, and we'd be playing blues rock, like a lot of rock stuff, mostly blues stuff. But I wanted to have the goal once we get settled is to have like a house gig or something like that. I've even gone as crazy as thinking if I can't find a house gig to make my own place to have a house gig, but something where when people come to town, they can hear me play, get up and play. We can have a lot of get-togethers and stuff like that in a cool area where there's, people may be there for conferences anyway, those kind of things. Steve says, I was in BB King's in Orlando last year. Yeah, it's cool, man. We played when I played with EG, we would play in Florida for 2 weeks, and we would play on the Gulf one. And it always worked this way. I don't know why they did it, but we'd be on like the Gulf one night and then the ocean the next night, and we would start in Jacksonville, and we'd go back and we'd zigzag back and forth, right? And so I would play one. You play. We pull in there. We'd set up. We get some dinner. And then we play, we get done at like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, whatever it is. Get back to the room, and they always put us on a hotel on the beach, right? So you don't even see it. You don't even go to the beach. You wake up the next morning, you look out the window, and you go, oh, look, there's the ocean. Then they go, get in the van or get in the truck or get in the car. We got to go. And then you go across, drive, the afternoon, play the next night. We did that. We would do that. We'd do that for 2 weeks. And so the one time we had played on the Atlantic side, and then we got on Route 4, I-4. And we, of course, we're stuck. It's like the worst highway ever, right? We're stuck there for hours. We're late to where we're supposed to play, and I didn't even know where we were playing. And we ended up playing at the House of Blues in Disney Springs. And we didn't play the big stage. We just played inside the main House of Blues area, And it was it like just left an impression on me. It was so much fun being there and playing in a place where there was all sorts of stuff going on. I love it. I loved playing there. And then being close, because the next night we played actually Tampa, South. David, make sure I'm not saying this incorrectly. So we played in Bradenton, I think it was. So that would be south of Tampa, about maybe 20 minutes, a half hour, if I'm not mistaken. But it only took us, like you're saying, like David's saying, like an hour and a half to get there. So either direction from Orlando to play on the beaches is an hour to an hour and a half just to get there, and of course farther if you go farther down. But we would play blues festivals. We played a big one in Jacksonville. We played all the blues festivals on the beaches on the coast, and I just loved it there, man. Because a lot of people say the same thing about like Texas. It has its own music scene. It's kind of self-contained. And Florida's kind of the same way. You can play even now, like in the rest of the country, where the music is kind of died down. It's like when I've played in Macon, when we played here and played in Atlanta and stuff like that back then, when I had my own band before I joined EG's band, you could play constantly. You play all week if you wanted to. And now, because it's died down a little bit, but in an area like that, I thought it would be great to have this, to be having the podcast going on, to be doing the videos, meeting people, and when they wanted to play, they could come see us play, get up and jam. I could hold clinics there. I'd have places to hold clinics, and there'd be it's not like going out in the middle of nowhere to hold a clinic. So that's the idea. That's the idea right now. So right now, that's a long answer to, I'm not playing right now. Right now, I'm focusing on this and getting it started, and it would be started right now if I wasn't moving. So the idea is September, after I move, I'll take a few weeks. I'm going to get the house set up first before I dive into everything. So I'm going to get a lot of content. The academy will be finished. I get a lot of content done ahead of time, and I'm going to spend a few weeks setting everything up. But what I will be doing while I'm setting everything up is documenting the practice room and the area and all that kind of stuff. So that's the plan. That's my exciting plan. Hopefully it works. And David says his brother lives in Orlando. Yeah, it's cool. It's not for everybody. There's a lot going on. But for me, I just every time I'm there, it's kind of like, I just don't want to leave, So let's see here. Saw Boney James at the House of Blues in Orlando. Yeah, Yeah, it's a cool place, man. I don't know if it's open now. I think it's still closed. I'm not sure. Steve says, Lee, you've never driven around the M25 during rush. No, I have not. I haven't. I haven't. Yeah, I haven't. The I-4 it's not like, some people say it's dangerous. I guess the reason they say it's dangerous is because there's a lot of people from all over the world who come there with different ideas of what good driving is, and most of the people who are traveling there, they don't know where they're going. So you get a lot of people pulling over to one side and realizing, oh, I need to go the other way, and cutting all the way across traffic. Those those kind of things. But my experience with I-4 isn't. It was just a parking lot, and you didn't move. So, but the M25, no, I've never done that. I've never driven around there. But anyway, oh gosh, I'm still on the ET thing. There we go. Yeah, that's what I've been looking at. Glory says that sounds cool. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be different. This is a plan. I'm very patient. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I'm very excited about it. And I'm different. I can wait. I can wait for this to happen, and it's been a big idea, and a lot of stuff. Life has happened here and there. Of course, we're going through all this and everything, but still going to have the podcast, do a lot more YouTube, building that up. That's building up quickly. And then going to have places. I'm going to be in a good place, and going to be able to play a lot more. And a place where, honestly, this Father's Day, for a place that my daughter and I like to go and like to do things, So it's a really exciting thing all the way around for me. But I'm in the middle of being patient. As Bud says, lots of roads to go around for. Yeah. Well, we're thinking about living. I don't have to deal with it too much. And that was on purpose. We picked a place where we weren't dependent on 4. And it's always, David says, is always under construction. Yes. Sure is. Always under construction. And David says, you'll be seeing me and Joe at some of your gigs. Hey man, anytime. I would love it. I'm sure I'll be down in Tampa a good bit too. So I'll be so this has been fun, man. This is awesome. I'm enjoying this. I'm glad. I didn't know. I figured maybe everybody was doing a lot of Father's Day stuff. Friday there wasn't a whole lot of chat going on Friday. I was beat Friday too, so I kind of cut it off early. But yesterday was good, and today's good too. So I'm glad these are still going good. I'm still planning on doing these. If I do have to take a week off or something like that, I'll let you know well in advance. One of my thoughts is, if I push myself, I don't want to burn out. So one of my thoughts was on the months where it's a 5-week month instead of a 4-week month, maybe taking a week off on those months. That way, all of the coaching people will still get a whole month, all 4 weeks of a month. And for the podcast and all of those things, I can be ahead of time. But I always say that, and then those things roll up and could get past you. Okay. I'm going to look back a little bit more. I want to talk about what Massachusetts Mike was saying about, I've never swapped any speakers in any of my amps. And do you notice a big difference, David, or more of just a minor tonal difference? and this was for David, but I just want to share my opinion about it. For years, I kept experimenting with amps and experimenting with pedals and experimenting with pickups for years, and was always frustrated. Never was happy. And I was never happy until I finally decided. The truth is, I got some cash and I could try out some different speakers. Some of them are affordable, some of them aren't, and it's tough to borrow other people's speakers, and it's tough to know what a speaker's going to sound like by pulling somebody else's amp and through somebody else's stuff. So I didn't really get to the point where I was happy with the way I sounded until I started experimenting with speakers. And what was really interesting, especially through clean amps, when you use pedals in front of clean amps, how different that pedal sounded when I had a different set of speakers on the same amp, when I swapped speakers. How everything changed. So you think you know what a tube screamer sounds like, and you know what it sounds like through your amp with those speakers. But then when I started experimenting with more Celestion type speakers, or gosh, I've tried so many, I can't remember, but I've just trying different speakers, and I'll get close, but this is nice, then I started to say, okay, well, with this speaker I can do this, and with this speaker I can do that. And what it started making me think is like a multi-amp setup instead of pedals, instead of switching my sound through one amp. When I'd hear the way one amp would sound with one set of speakers as opposed to the other one, you get a great rhythm sound with like a Fender through a certain type of speakers, and then through a Marshall with a certain type of speakers. And when you start get picky like that, but at the same time, that's a lot to carry, and it's a lot to think about getting the level set up. So I ended up finding this ET65, which was fantastic for the lead guitar and really good for the clean. Not fantastic for the clean. It doesn't have that super sparkle, but in a band situation, sometimes that that's a little lost too. So we're going to so I decided that actually I did start using some multi-amp stuff, but I would use them all at the same time. I wasn't switching between amps. I would have my Marshall and my Fender and both on. I did that a little bit too. So I wasn't having to switch between both amps, but I was getting some of the mixture between the two. The Fender amp was more like a dirty on the edge, and then I got a lot of saturation from the Marshall. But I roll down a good bit for my clean. I don't need to have a sparkly clean all the time. I need to have it when I need it. And the one of the things that I found with these exotic pedals is I found that when you put the RC booster and use a tube screamer in front of it, it really does a cool, like a Stevie Ray Vaughan style sound through the speaker that I use. So I've kind of settled that I'm not going to do the changing from speaker to speaker thing. But hey, I always change my mind. So okay, everybody. So we're getting up at the top of the hour. I'm going to be doing some podcasting stuff tomorrow. I'm going to be thinking about it tonight. If there's anything that you guys would like for me to cover in the podcast tomorrow. I'm open for suggestions right now. I have a few ideas kind of on the back burner. I didn't have time this weekend to really go through them, but if there's any questions you have or anything about anything like that, I'll be putting the podcast tomorrow, and then we'll do it live at 4. So that's something put out there if you are interested in or if you need something that for me to deal with. Massachusetts Mike says, thanks, Lee. I have many similar struggles in my never-ending pursuit of tone. And you know what? You'll get there. You'll experiment enough where you'll find the things. Just don't look at what everybody else is doing. Some of my stuff is expensive, and some of my stuff is not expensive. And the not expensive things are just as important as my expensive. So like this guitar is, it's an American built Strat. It's a good guitar. It's not super expensive, but it's not cheap either. But my black guitar that I use all the time works just as good as this, and it was a Mexican. So let's see here. Mark says Mark says my tone problems are in my fingers. Okay, well that's interesting. That's it. Getting good tone unamplified, right? How to get a nice round tone, or are you talking about buzzes and things like that? Explain a little bit more, Mark. What problems you're having on the fretboard. And David says, ear training eludes me. The podcast may help. Okay, something about ear training. Post-it note. Put that down there. So I'll put David ear training. How to hear what's going on. I love being able to, not just being able to, I love when I was able to listen to music, when I got to the point where I could really hear what was going on without having to have my guitar with me. So Mark says getting a clear tone and pressure, too much or not enough. Yeah, I talked about that the other day with going out of tune, pressing down too hard on the strings. Clear tone. So buzzes and things like that. Yeah. There's a lot of different problems with I'll just pick one note, right? Let's try and get, I'm not going to, this is just through the microphone. I'm not going through the floorboard, right? So there's a lot of things I can do. You see, some people choke up so hard with their first finger straight down it that their fingernail hits it and gets kind of almost a metallic tone to it. Your pick has a lot to do with it too. We'll talk about that in a second. But and then some people roll their finger way back, and you've got a very wide, fleshy part of your finger that's on it too, that gives a real round sound if that's what you're interested in. To me, I wanted the most sustain with a good attack. And so that is right there. Let's see if that'll clear up on my finger. Right on, not so much by the fingernail, but not so much far back there. And see, it's all actually kind of diagonal there. And that's just probably because I'm playing up a little bit higher. And for chords, I always say choke up to the fret, and just enough to get to ring out. But does that really give you the warmest tone, But a lot of this also has to do with where, let me see if I can get do I have in this setup? I don't. I have to do it up here. a lot of it has to do with where you're picking too. So if I take this playing down by the bridge, if I have my fingernail too far into it and play down by the bridge, it's really raspy sounding. If I play really far up here, it's not. If I play too far back and raspy sounding, it sounds almost like a, have you ever heard of flamenco guitar where they put the strings down so low on purpose where you're getting buzz, and that buzz is almost like the distortion on a guitar. So buzz is important to a flamenco guitarist, you know. Some of my low strings have a little buzz in there too, and depending on how hard I play, that's a part of the tone. A lot of stuff came in here. Let me hand back this. Josh popped in. Good to see you, Josh. David says, ear training lose me, pipes help. Mark says, clear tone, pressure, much not enough. Steve says, I have a mini tube screamer on the way. I've been wanting to try those. I've got several TS9s. That's the one I've used. I have a BD2, so interested to hear any difference. It's going to be different. Definitely going to be different. You're going to have a lot more mid-range than the tube screamer. I also have a modded Made in Mexico Strat and Tele to experiment with too. You got a lot going on, man. Pretty cool. I have a Keeley modded BD2, and it's more of a Fender scoop, and the tube screamer is the opposite. You've got a lot more mids in there, and so that's why they work so good on Fender amps, because the Fender scoop, your mids are kind of sucked out, but when you hit your tube screamer, it fills all that in. You get a nice full sound. But that's why that tube screamer doesn't sound so good on an amp with a ton of mid-range, like a Vox or something like that. It can get really muddy because you're nasally, more nasal than muddy on amps like that. Let's see here. Gloria, it's in the holding of the pick too. Yeah, that's correct. And well, in the holding of the pick, how tight you pick. You know, if you never let the pick, here's how I like to have people hold the pick. So you hold the pick here, thumb in between the first finger, and it's got to be able to wiggle. It's got to move. What you don't want to do is you don't want to hold the pick so tight that when you push the string, it pushes it out of tune. Even if it's for a split second, you're going to hear it. You want the string to stay where it is and the pick to do the moving, but you have to hold it just light enough that it doesn't pop out and fly across the room, you know? So let's see here. Opinion on pedals for a decent, non-expensive setup, please. For me, a tube screamer, even if I'm not using that sound, I usually end up using a tube screamer. It's not an everything. It's not a Swiss Army knife pedal. It does one thing, but I usually find in the night music that the tube screamer. So I think a mini tube screamer, I think whether they 70 something, that would be worth the money. I know that like Joyo and all those other cheaper pedals have a tube screamer something, but for me, a TS9, that's the one I like. I like it better than an 808, just for the way I play. But I've even had a TS10. I gave it the real plasticky looking one, the kind of like, it looks like a bug one. I got a great sound from that too. But it's a one trick play. It does one thing, and that's it. But you know, there's a lot of these mini pedals out there. I honestly haven't played through a lot of them. I've kind of settled on exotic stuff, which is not cheap. It's not super expensive, but it's not cheap. But it works for me. Mark has experimented with a lot of strings, and that helps. But I just find myself pressing way too hard if I don't pay attention. Yeah, video yourself playing. You know, just set a webcam up or use your phone and play, right? And and you say, see when, if you don't pay attention, see when it happens, you know, try really hard not to do it. And then look back and see when it happens and see what the reason is. Some people get real excited when they're playing and push down real hard. I know that that when I'm playing live, I tend to if I'm playing all the time, I tend to need to boost my string gauge up, because I start to, I guess my hands get stronger, and there's adrenaline and all that kind of stuff, and I push down too hard, so I need to kind of fight that. But my hands are used to it. That right now, if I played live right now, I'd have to use light strings and work up to it. Let's see here. Also, I like to use my fingers as well as a pick, but I don't know where to start. Hybrid is the way that I play it. So I use the pick, kind of like a thumb pick. There's a lot of a lot of those guys use the thumb pick. Well, you've got 3 fingers here. In fact, even if you want to do bracing with your pinky, you've got these other 2. So that's a good place to start. And then you'd see guys that grow their thumbnail out a little bit and use that for finger picking, and they'd hide the pick in, like that or something like that, and you use finger style. And you could try thumb pick too, or just thumb. Like I like the way it sounds, even just without your thumbnail. Just it's a more mellow bass note with the thumb, but I like that too. I play with my thumb and fingers on clean a lot. It makes for some chilled playing. Not all the time, and not for rocking out, just for noodling. Yeah. Mark says jumping from acoustic to electric does not help. Okay. But I had the bar problems also. Yeah, let's think about that for a while. You're not wanting to press down too hard, but you just end up doing it anyway. Oh, you said if you don't pay attention. Okay. What's a good way to lighten your touch up? I'll think about that. So Chris says, I bought pedals and then just gone back to amp or just a small number of pedals. Must get a 2 screamer at some point though. Yeah, it's two screamers are like James Hetfield used tube screamers, and people are like, well, why is that? That's like a blues thing. But it's really the EQ, right? So the EQ curve from highs to lows, and a tube screamer is like a hump, right? The mids are actually the high mids are boosted. And then if you listen to James Hetfield's rhythm playing, it's scooped. It's massively scooped. All the mids are, you got highs and you got lows, and all the mids are like nowhere. So the tube screamer boosts his gain but adds some mids back in, thickens his sound a good bit. There's a lot of cool things you can do with the tube screamer. But it has a color to it. It definitely, if you're looking for a transparent sound, it's not what I would get. Is a Jam Man Express looper pedal okay? I haven't used one. So if anybody here has used a Jam Man Express, please let us know about that. See a cheap one on Craigslist say it's like news. And David says, a tube screamer is always on my board, just a great staple pedal. Also, I like the Boss OD3 with my DSL. Really goes great with it. Yeah, I like the Boss OD3 too. I like all the old Boss overdrives. I had the distortion. The DS1 is cool too for certain things. Steve says, so are you using your fingers or do you grow your nails to play with? I used to grow my nails just on my right hand to play with. And then I noticed on my first finger that my fingernail would wear away on the inside, to the point where it started hurting. And so I started getting away with that. And so I've been using just my fingers without really growing my nail. Like right now, I just need, they're just starting to grow out. But you want to have a little bit of nail just for pulls, So even for like jazz stuff and stuff like that, so you can have, what you want to have is more than just one sound, So a light sound, a plucked sound, a sharp sound. 9 times out of 10, honestly, if something comes up, if a song is called or something is playing where it's finger style, I'm going to use my pick for low strings, and I'm going to use my middle and ring finger on my right hand. Especially for slide too. Slide sounds so good when the strings are pulled with the fleshy part of your fingers, So, but sometimes with slide you want to have a raspy sound too. So I'm always using pinky. I don't use a whole lot. Pinky I use for bracing, But I will use if it only requires 3 fingers, which most finger style picking does. I won't even get rid of the pick. If I had to, I would, like I said, I'd flip it and hold it away. But I did it for a long time. People would look at me like, what are you doing with long fingernails on one hand? And it was nice, but it wasn't, to me, it wasn't that necessary. But if I was a classical guitarist, I remember in music school, I was in the jazz guitar section. All the classical guitar players would have fake fingernails, and if they didn't want to go in and get their nails done, they would cut up ping pong balls and glue them on top of their fingernails, which I thought was completely nuts. But hey, it worked, and some of them like the tone of that there. So. Can't see your right hand. Yeah, this one won't pop down. Let me see if I can. I had a close up with this other camera. It's on it. The way this program works, there's scene collections there. So let's see if I can. Using a lot of pulls with with these fingers, and using the pick kind of in there, so you get a neat sound of some notes are being picked, some notes are finger style, those kind of things. So that's what I do now, unless it's a song that calls straight for finger style. There's a song on one of EG's albums that we did that was just her singing and me playing an open tune guitar, and I let my thumbnail grow a little bit for that one, just to get a little bit more on the thumb. I didn't use a pick for that one. Okay, all right, guys, it's after 5. It's time to get the Father's Day in full gear. Hope everybody's having a great day, and happy Father's Day to all of you. And thanks for hanging out with me today, and thanks Gloria for hanging out too. Appreciate that. So we got Evan and David, Steve, Gloria again, the other Evan, let's see here, Chris and Dean. We had a few others in here. Let's see, David Sparrow is here. Great to see you, man. David Reed. And let's see, I think there's somebody else was in here too. I think Mark was here. Massachusetts, Mike was in here. Mark was here. And I think I may have said thank you to everybody. So have a great rest of the evening, everybody. Happy Father's Day. And I will see everybody tomorrow for the live podcast. Everybody have a great one, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.